Long before the betrayal, there was love, the kind of love that made even struggle feel sweet. Sandra met Josh when he was still a dreamer. Tall, ambitious, and broke, he worked at a roadside phone shop during the day and studied accounting at night. His clothes were always a little too worn, his shoes dusted with Lagos sand, but his voice, always full of big promises. "I may not have much now," he used to say, "but one day, I'll give you the life you deserve." Sandra believed him. She didn't need much, just honesty, consistency, and a little hope. She was in her final year studying education when they moved in together. One mattress on the floor, one pot, one fan, but somehow they had everything. When Josh lost his job, Sandra took on tutoring gigs after school. When his school fees were delayed, she gave up her own savings, money she had been setting aside for her future plans, just to make sure he graduated first. She believed in him more than he believed in himself. Things changed the year he got hired at one of the biggest firms in Victoria Island. It started small, new suits, late-night meetings, office parties she wasn't invited to. Then came the car. Then came the silence. Josh wasn't home as much anymore. He'd leave lipstick-stained wine glasses in his car and say they belonged to clients. He started treating Sandra more like a responsibility than a partner. "You're too emotional," he'd say. "You don't understand how this world works. You wouldn't get it." But she stayed, because love remembers the beginning even when the present feels like the end. The night she told him she was pregnant, Sandra cooked his favourite meal, egusi with pounded yam, set on a candle-lit table. She wore the red dress he always loved. "Josh," she said softly, "I'm pregnant." He didn't smile, didn't move. He stared at her like she'd said something offensive. Then he stood up, took his car keys, and walked out. That was the last time she saw him. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. She moved back into her mother's house with swollen feet and shattered pride. Her friends called less, the neighbours whispered more. "You were too loyal," her cousin said, "too available." But Sandra carried her shame with quiet strength. She gave birth, alone, to a boy with his father's eyes. Named him Jayden, a name she once picked with Josh in a moment of joy. For 10 years she raised Jayden with everything Josh left behind. Her tears, her grit, her love. Then, one Thursday morning, she stood at the school gate for pickup and saw him. Clean-cut, confident, like he never disappeared. "Josh, I've been looking for you," he said. "I want to see my son." For a second, Sandra thought her eyes were lying. Josh? Here? At Jayden's school? He looked polished, like one of those corporate men she used to admire in traffic. "Too clean, too confident, too late, Sandra," he said again, gentler this time. "Please, I just want to talk." She didn't answer. Her hands were trembling, but not from fear, from restraint. He had no idea what it took to raise a child alone, no idea what it cost her to hold herself together when he disappeared like a ghost. And now he wanted to talk? Later that evening, they sat across from each other in a small cafe not far from the school. Sandra refused to take off her sunglasses. Her face didn't cry anymore. Only her silence did. Josh stirred his coffee like he was waiting for the words to rise out of it. "I was scared," he finally said. "Back then, I didn't know how to handle it." She blinked slowly. "So you ran?" "I made a mistake, Sandra, a big one. But I've changed. I have my life together now. I want to be part of his life." Sandra leaned back. The anger was too old to be loud. It simmered now, quiet but sharp. "He's not some project you left behind that you suddenly remembered," she said. "He's a person you abandoned." "I didn't mean to hurt you," Josh whispered. "You didn't mean to get me pregnant either, but you did. And then you vanished like I was disposable." He looked away. 10 years, 10 birthdays, 10 nights of fever, school fees, bullying, learning how to tie shoelaces. One parent-teacher meeting after another. He wasn't there for any of it. She stood up, grabbing her purse. If you really want to be part of Jayden's life, don't come to me with apologies. Show me who you are now, not who you pretend to be. Josh stood too. Can I at least see him? Sandra paused. Her voice was calm, too calm. You left when I told you I was pregnant. What makes you think you get to walk back in when he already knows what love looks like? She turned and walked out. Outside the cafe, the wind blew gently, the kind of wind that used to make her feel small, but not anymore. Back at home, Jayden was sketching superheroes at the table. Mum, he said, do I look like Dad? Sandra froze. Her eyes met his. He was only 10, but his questions were getting sharper. She sat beside him, brushing his curls. You look like someone who's going to change the world. Sandra thought avoiding the conversation would buy her time, but kids are smart, especially Jayden, and silence only makes their curiosity louder. The next morning, while packing his school bag, Jayden dropped the question like it was just another word. Why don't I have a dad like the other boys? Sandra froze. He wasn't angry, just observant, and that hurt more. She knelt in front of him, hands trembling slightly. You have a dad, Jayden. He just wasn't ready when you came, but it had nothing to do with you. Do I look like him? Yes, she said. You also smile like him. But your heart, that's all me. Jayden nodded, but the look in his eyes was heavy, the kind that asked more than he had words for. That same afternoon, Josh did what Sandra feared. He came to the house. Jayden was outside playing when he pulled up in his sleek black car. He stepped out, holding a gift bag. As if a toy could fix 10 years, Sandra stepped outside before Jayden could notice. Josh, she hissed, I told you not to come here. I just want to see him, he said. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I need a chance. Sandra's eyes burned. A chance? You had one. 10 years ago, when I told you I was carrying your child and you vanished. I was young, I panicked, but I'm here now. No, you're not here. You're convenient now, and I don't care how sorry you are. You don't get to just show up with gifts and think that replaces a father. But Jayden heard the voices. He turned and saw him. Josh waved awkwardly. Hey, buddy. Sandra's heart dropped. It was too soon, too unprepared. Jayden tilted his head. Mom, who is that? Josh opened his mouth, but Sandra stepped forward. That's someone from my past, and right now he's leaving. Jayden blinked, confused, curious. Josh looked shattered, but said nothing. He nodded once, got in his car and drove away. That night, Jayden sat on his bed holding the sketchbook he always drew in. Mum, he whispered, why do I feel like everyone's lying to me? Sandra's eyes filled, but she didn't let the tears fall. Not yet. I'm not lying to you, Jay. I'm just protecting you from a truth I'm still trying to forgive. Josh couldn't sleep. Sandra's words haunted him. You don't get to just show up. But wasn't that what he was doing? Showing up? He had spent years building a life, trying to forget the guilt. But no success, no suit, no promotion could erase that rainy night he walked out the door and never looked back. Now he wanted to fix it, needed to. So he did what broken men often do. He acted without thinking. The next day, without telling Sandra, Josh went to Jayden's school. He waited by the fence, heart pounding in his chest. When Jayden walked out with his backpack slung carelessly over one shoulder, Josh stepped forward. Hey, he said, trying to smile. Remember me? Jayden frowned. You're the man from the house. I am. I'm your dad. Jayden blinked. What? Josh squatted to his level, hands trembling. I know this is sudden, and I know I don't deserve it, but I just wanted to meet you, to see you. I've missed so much. Jayden stared at him, unsure what to feel. Why did you leave us? Before Josh could answer, Sandra's voice cut through the air like a blade. Step away from my son! She rushed over, grabbing Jayden's hand. Did he touch you? No, Jayden said, still stunned. He said he's my dad. Sandra turned to Josh, her voice shaking. You went behind my back. I had to, he said. You weren't giving me a chance. No, Josh, you had your chance. You threw it away the night you left us. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Back home, the silence between Sandra and Jayden was heavy. Mum, he said softly, was he telling the truth? Sandra sat beside him, her shoulders slumped, her heart full. Yes, she said, Josh is your father. Jayden looked down. Then why did he leave? Sandra took a deep breath. Because some people run when life gets hard, but you, Jay, you were never the problem. He just wasn't ready to be the kind of man you needed. Will he come back? Sandra paused. I don't know, but I do know one thing. You don't need him to be whole. You've always had me. And you always will. That night, Sandra sat alone in the kitchen, staring at an unopened letter from Josh. Inside it were photographs. A picture of a nursery that was never built. A note that said, I named my first investment after him. I never forgot. For a moment her hand shook. A tiny crack in her armor. But then she remembered the sleepless nights, the rejection, the years, and she placed the letter back in the envelope without reading further. Josh didn't stop coming. Not to the house, not to the school, not to the edge of Sandra's guarded world. He kept his distance, but he was there, dropping books for Jayden, leaving polite voicemails, sitting at the far end of parent meetings just to hear how his son was doing. And slowly, despite Sandra's fury, Jayden started warming up to him. Mum, Jayden said one evening, he's not that bad. Sandra was washing dishes, her back stiffened, fingers still soaked in soap. I'm not saying I forgive him, Jayden added quickly, but he knows things about me, like how I always tap my pencil when I'm thinking, and how I like my eggs runny. Sandra didn't respond. She couldn't. Her heart was tightening in a way she hadn't felt since she was 23 and left holding a son alone in a hospital bed. Later that night, Sandra stood by her bedroom window and dialed Josh. He picked on the first ring. Wait now, she asked, voice low. Why are you suddenly fighting to be a father? Josh exhaled slowly. Because, for years, I thought staying away was the right thing. I believed you were better off without me. But I was wrong. He's my son, Sandra. I didn't know what that meant before. I do now. Knowing doesn't change the damage. I know, he said, but let me show him who I can be. I'm not asking for you, I'm asking for a chance to love my child. The words made her chest ache, not because they were romantic, but because they were sincere. And sincerity from Josh hurt more than any lie he ever told. A week later, she let Jayden spend the afternoon with him, a trial. When Josh returned him, Jayden burst into the room, glowing. Mom, he taught me how to ride a bike, and he said he used to pray I'd become smarter than him someday. Sandra forced a smile. That's great, baby. But when Jayden ran off, Josh lingered. She's still in there, isn't she? He asked. The version of you who loved me. Sandra's eyes darkened. Don't test me, Josh. I'm not, I still remember. She turned to leave. But he said it, the thing she never expected. There's something else, Sandra, something I've never had the guts to say until now. She paused. Josh's throat tightened. Back then, when you told me you were pregnant, I was already seeing someone else. It wasn't serious, not to me, but it was a betrayal all the same. I felt like I didn't deserve you, or the baby. He looked her in the eye. So instead of staying and confessing, I left, because facing your disappointment was harder than being hated. Sandra's face went pale, not because of shock, but because something inside her was breaking all over again. "You looked me in the eye," she said, "and told me you loved me. I did, but I wasn't ready to live up to it." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You left me for another woman? While I carried your child." Josh didn't answer. He didn't have to. Sandra turned away, her voice shaking. "You don't deserve to be called his father." Josh waited by the porch. He hadn't slept. Sandra's words from the night before still echoed in his mind. "You don't deserve to be called his father." But he showed up anyway. Inside, Sandra sat on the couch, staring at the door. She knew he was out there. She knew Jayden would eventually ask questions, and she knew that anger alone wouldn't fix anything. She opened the door without a word. Josh stepped inside slowly, hands trembling. "Does he know?" she asked. "No," Josh said quietly. "I would never hurt him with that." Sandra looked at him, eyes sharp. "But you hurt me. You looked me in the eye, said you loved me, and while I was dreaming of baby names, you were busy, what, juggling women?" Josh looked down. "I don't want your apology," she said. "I want your honesty." He met her gaze. "I was stupid. I was selfish, and I was scared that the perfect thing I had with you would unravel if you found out. I thought I could bury it, walk away, start over." "You didn't start over," she said coldly. "I started over, alone, with a baby, and every time he asked where you were, I lied, to protect your absence." Josh nodded slowly. "And that's why I'm here now. Not to erase the past. I can't. But I'm here to take responsibility, and if you still think I don't deserve to be his father, I'll walk away. For good." Sandra folded her arms. "And if I do let you in? Then I'll show up, every single day, no matter how long it takes. I'll earn his trust, and if it means sleeping in a car just to be close enough to pick him from school, I'll do it." Later that day, they all sat together on Josh, Sandra, and Jayden, eating quiet rice and stew. Jayden looked between them. "You two are talking again." Sandra smiled slightly. "We're trying. Are we going to be a family now?" Sandra paused, looked at Josh, then back at Jayden. "We already are a family, me and you, but your dad wants to be part of it, and we're going to take our time." Jayden nodded, then looked at Josh. "Do you know how to play video games?" Josh chuckled. "You're about to find out." That night, after Jayden slept, Josh stood by the door. "I'll never stop trying to make it right," he said. Sandra nodded. "And I'll never forget what you did." He looked down. "But I'm choosing peace," she added. "For my son. For me." He turned to leave, but before stepping out, Sandra whispered, "Don't fail him, not again." If you were in Sandra's shoes, would you let Josh back into your life to be a father to Jayden and maybe rebuild a family? Or would you shut that door for good and protect your peace? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you would do. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this. Thanks for watching.